This is Business Week Armenia, ＳiviLNeT's weekly economic digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia this week. The United States says it intends to expand cooperation with Armenia on trade, transport, and energy issues, including on nuclear energy, as part of the two countries' landmark strategic partnership agreement earlier this month. In a statement last week, the State Department announced plans to identify strategic opportunities to increase bilateral trade and investment. This includes strategic talks to reach a so-called 1-2-3 agreement, which would allow Washington to transfer civil nuclear technology to Armenia as the country looks to replace its aging Soviet-era nuclear power plant at Medzamor. ＳiviLNeT first broke the news that Yerevan had asked Washington to consider signing a 1-2-3 agreement last summer. Negotiations typically stretch on for years, and no timeline has been given publicly. Aside from paving the way for U.S. companies to build the replacement for Medzamor, which must be decommissioned by 2036, a 1-2-3 agreement could also allow the United States to supply the nuclear fuel that Medzamor and its replacement will run on. As of now, Armenia is entirely dependent on Rosatom, Russia's state-run nuclear energy company, for the imported fuel that powers Medzamor, which meets some 30% of the country's total energy needs. Speaking to ＳiviLNeT last week, former Deputy Infrastructure Minister Hagop Vardanyan said he believes it would be feasible to make that switch, citing similar moves by Finland and Ukraine to transition their Soviet-era atomic plants to U.S. fuel. In Ukraine, this transition happened in a fantastically short time period, Vardanyan noted. In addition, the State Department confirmed last week it would initiate a working group to strengthen enforcement of export controls for dual-use goods, amid continuing unease over Armenia's soaring trade relationship with Russia. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in early 2022, Armenia's yearly trade with Russia has skyrocketed, fueled by a vibrant re-export business. Despite specifically calling out Yerevan as a transshipment point used by Moscow to evade sanctions, Washington has blacklisted only a handful of Armenian entities since the war began. In the first 11 months of last year, the latest period for which official numbers are available, Armenia's trade with Russia topped $11.6 billion, while trade with the United States totaled just over $380 million. Armenia's economy chief has sought to allay fears the country may consider pulling out of the Russian-led Eurasian Economic Union, even as the government pushes forward with plans to submit an application to join the European Union. Under no circumstances are we thinking of replacing the EAEU with something else, Economy Minister Gevorg Papoyan told reporters last week at a press conference meant to wrap up his agency's major achievements last year and lay out plans for this year. Continuing, Papoyan said Armenia is simply looking to diversify its economic relations and maintain, enlarge, and increase trade volumes in all directions. Papoyan's comments came after Armenia's cabinet said earlier this month that it would back a bill under consideration in parliament that would, if approved, start the process of Armenia's accession to the EU. In the first 11 months of last year, trade within the EAEU accounted for more than 42% of Armenia's foreign trade, while the EU accounted for just 7.5%. In addition, Papoyan told reporters last week that his agency would be focused this year on attracting more foreign investment to Armenia, saying the country needs to be continuously working on the issue. Papoyan pointed to US-led investments at the long-stalled Amulsar gold mine as an example of what Armenia needs to ensure financial and economic stability. To that point, Papoyan noted that the government's economic growth target of 5.5% for this year assumes production at Amulsar finally starts after years of delays. If Amulsar operates in a full cycle, our GDP will grow by an additional 1% annually, and our state will receive an additional $120 million in taxes annually, Papoyan told reporters. Amulsar representatives said last month they expect operations to begin in the fourth quarter of this year. For more information, you can find all our coverage on the Amulsar gold mine issue at sivilnet.am. And finally, you can check out our new interview with Don Lambert, the country director for Armenia at the Asian Development Bank, who joined us last week to talk about what his team is doing to promote Armenia's development and green transition. You can find the full conversation on our website at civilnet.am or through the link in the video description below. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.